Card Junkies.
Alright, welcome back. We are the Card Junkies, and my name is Hobbitcrom, and this is
Tommy T, and welcome to the Card Junkies.
Show me what you got!
Alright, hell yeah. Now we're back into a new deck. This is what we call Rise of the Rejects.
I like turtles.
We are basically playing an Approach of the Second Sun deck. As soon as this card came out, a lot of people have been making decks around it, trying to get it to work, so on and so forth. Some in similar fashion, some in not. As you know, Approach of the Second Sun, when you cast it twice in a game, you win. Pretty simple, right? Like, why not play it? So going into this deck, we run 23 lands. That doesn't really need explaining. We have 8 cycles, 4 lands that come into play, and you have to show another land of that type. All blends well. The cycle lands are considered plains and forests and plains and islands, so it all works out in circles. So let's see here. Now we're going to go into our 2-drops, because we don't have 1-drops because we're a slow-ass deck. And our 2-drops are just fogs. If you don't know what a fog is a thing that prevents damage when you're being attacked. That's all it really does. So we run 10 different of them, 8 in the 2-drop slot, 2 in the 3-drop slot. The next thing we run in our 3-drops are stasis snares to kind of handle big bomb creatures that drop out that we just need to handle right away, and 1 Manglehorn main board, just in case we get lucky enough to see it against the vehicle deck, or anything that deals a lot with artifacts. Definitely slows them down. Great to have at least 1 main board so you at least have an answer to draw into. Our 7-drop, we have 2 cast outs because it acts a lot like stasis snare, except for it can hit planeswalkers or anything else really. It's just a non-land permanent. It's a great catch-all when you're playing against any deck that has planeswalkers or vehicles. Now we're moving into our planeswalkers. We have Dovinban and Kiora. These are 2 of our planeswalkers. These are 2 of our rejects that I love the most because they're dirt cheap. Like I love budget because, I'm not made of money and I work a full-time job. Dovin here, he helps a lot in a lot of ways. If you get his ultimate off, it wins the game for you. Like any planeswalker. But it's his +1 ability that I really love the most. It gives a creature -3/-0 and cannot activate its abilities again. So, for example, if you're attacking and they block with something like a Heart of Kirin, you can target it at the end on your second main phase, and it can't reactivate during their turn. So it's a beautiful way to stop it at a budget level and always having an answer main board. And then we look into Kiora here. Kiora, she's got a couple different abilities that we like. I really love her for 8/1 because I love tentacle monsters. But I really just use her for her -2. It reveals the top cards of your library. Grab a land and a creature. If you haven't hit more than 1 creature, that's okay, because all of our creatures in this deck have Embalm. And I'll get to that in a little bit. The untap ability, it's kind of good, kind of not. Allows us to actually play Approach of the Second Sun a turn earlier if we need to, or if we have it in hand. Great catch-all for that. But she's also a good bullet catcher because, dem titties. And then we're going into our 5-drop slot. This is probably one of our biggest slots just because this is where, these are bread makers. We have 1 Angel of Sanctions in the deck because she acts like as a cast out, but she's also a creature with Embalm. So it gives us 2 more iterations of it, as well as another flying creature, because evasion is huge in this format right now. As long as we have evasion, we don't have to have an army of creatures to move forward. We run 3 Fumigates because we're not afraid to lose our creatures, but we do need the life back from playing Swarm decks or anything else like that, so it really helps us move forward. Glyph Keeper, just because it is the most resilient budget creature I can find at this point in time. It's 5 for a 5/3 that whenever it's targeted by a spell or ability, for the first time each turn it's countered. It's gold. Fucking gold. Only bad thing is between Kiora and Glyph Keeper, if you try to do that, it will counter it, so just be mindful of that. Now we're looking into our 6-drop slot with Honored Hydra. This is definitely the card we want to put in our graveyard if we hit as an extra creature with Kiora, because it does Embalm for 4, which is much less than its casting cost. Now to our last and final reject, we have a Johnny Unyielding, which is just tits in this deck. Allows us to grab any non-land permanent and put it into our hand, so it allows all of our enchantment removal that we use, our planeswalkers, anything but our, approach and our fogs to put into our hand. So it's absolutely amazing. You can exile target tapped permanent. Is it tapped? Let's see. Oh, exile target creature. No, allows you to exile another creature if we need to, if we're really hurting at that time and point. And its -8 is kind of the reason why we're playing it. Wait, it's -9 because I can't count or read, and I don't know why this is my job. So after that, his -9 is just absolutely beautiful. Bonuses to all our creatures and planeswalkers, and can get multiple ultimates if we ever get that off. That's the dream. It's important to have one. Martin Luther King died with it. So this is going to be ours. Now, as I told you earlier, our main win condition is Approach of the Second Sun. That's about it for the deck. There's about all that you can do. Fog, drop planeswalkers, drop bombs, be America, and fuck yeah, this is Rise of the Rejects. Alright, now we're moving on to our sideboard here. Our sideboard here is geared against a couple different decks that we naturally just aren't good against early on, that we could use a little bit more buffering against. Authority of the Consuls, in case we get against a crazy fast aggro deck or crazy token deck where we need to just gain that life as it comes in. 2 more Enticing Fishers was for 2 more fog effects, if you guys didn't realize that in the last thing. 1 more Stasis Snare and 2 more cast outs. That's just in case we have more bomb removal we have to worry about that are more subjugated to whatever deck we're playing against. The cast outs obviously really help against Mardu, because it really locks down planeswalkers, or any deck with planeswalker control, even one of our own. 2 Appetite of the Unnatural, in case you can run across enchantment and more artifact problems. And then we have another 3 Manglehorns in the sideboard to fill out the playset. So we can always be on top of everything if we need to against any other deck that runs heavy artifacts. Such as Mardu, which is just the topic that I'm always on, because it's a love-hate relationship I have with that deck. It's my 3 favorite colors, and it's just the best deck in the format in my opinion right now. And then 2 Deadlock Traps to lock down more planeswalkers or any creatures with activated abilities that we are having problems with later on. Keep in mind, this can also be used on vehicles. So if you have to fog a vehicle and use it on their turn, do it.
Just do it!
Whatever you need to use Deadlock Trap for to have it buy a little time, just a great thing to do so. Obviously, it's mostly in there for planeswalkers, because that's our hardest thing. We do have a lot of answers for it, but it just gives us 2 more ways to put it in there in its card list, so it smooths out everything nice and well.